Hi, I'm Nyasha.
And I'm Breandan.
And I'm Marcus. Join us as we take a view from the salon chair.
It's time for the class.
It's been a crazy week, but I've been away, so I've heard a little bit about it. Where it was in Turkey was quite far out, so it wasn't usual Brits abroad place. So it's very European, and I got a bit of like Wi-Fi in the hotel, but it was up and down. So I got a little bit of the Trump shooting, a little bit about, obviously, you know, I knew just before I went about the election. King Charles is obviously is in there as well, so I want to know about the King is open Parliament, so that's a big deal. So
what does that mean, opening Parliament, exactly?
Well, that's like the whole thing, knocking at the door and all that kind of, you know, with the big staff, and everything. So
what's that doing? Is it like?
Well, that's signifying the opening the new reign.
Oh, right,
yeah?
Okay,
right. So it's very British.
People back in the day when they'd knight them with the.
I don't know. I feel
no. That's when you've been knighted.
I feel like this is one of those things that like British people are used to, but for people like us, we're just kind of like, we don't need that sort of like.
Well, no, you don't, because we sort of like this whole tradition in it, you know what I mean? So I would say that I agree. In fact, I think it's.
I would just say, get to work, because that's your job.
I would say there's no need for it at all. You know.
Wait, but I thought that
you
royals didn't have any part.
No, they do, still but they can't. They can't, like, technically they could come in and basically be like, hey, we're in charge. So, but they won't do that. It's just like a hype. It's like a, hey, we're going to do this, but we're not actually going to do it. It's like a weird thing.
But they could.
Some of this shit, you're just like, this is kind of stupid.
It's like unnecessary.
Right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I get it. It's another culture. Like, I think the thing is like, if, say, Marcus, you came to my country or went to your country, you'd think like, this is weird. But at the same time, it's like when I first moved here, I was like, I'm not the biggest fan of football. But on my way of moving to the country, I made a massive effort to like understand the Premier League and how all the leagues work. And it's so complicated to a point where I was like looking at diagrams and watching YouTube videos. And like, I even, prior to moving to this country, I wanted to do lots of research on where I was going to be living. So I watched documentaries on Newcastle.
I mean, you came to a football.
Yeah. I watched documentaries, not on Newcastle like football, but on Newcastle like the city. Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, I know a lot about, like, I'm a big history buff. So like for me, learning about like how like the Vikings first landed up not too far from here, you know what I mean? Say, for example, like I have a client in the chair. For me, I like being able to like go, oh, don't you know? Like, you know, like, yeah.
Like,
so like you
found you do that as well. Did you do it?
Yeah, I feel like once you understand the history and like where you are, like obviously you're coming into a country that's not yours, so you have to understand and respect the culture.
Yeah, exactly.
Like with clients as well, it helps you build that relationship because they're like, oh yeah, this person understands me, or they've taken time to like know some of the stuff that obviously.
I mean, do you know what? That's super interesting because I'm from the North East.
Yeah.
So I kind of, but I do think that people, I just said this, so people from not here seem to know more about here.
It's like a new area, so you're gonna want to know the ins and outs, and especially if like you're the new kid on the block, you don't want to look like you don't know anything. It's like, say you move to a new school,
exactly.
You need to have the knowledge. Otherwise, you think everybody you'll get eaten.
Yeah.
You come in and you don't know how to speak to your clients, and they're coming in, they're like, oh, did you watch the football? And you're like, nah, I don't watch.
I think the one thing that's really cool.
Football is a big thing.
Yes, speak to your clients because it's a big thing.
I think the one thing that's quite interesting as well too that you can use that is like, obviously, like bants in the UK is a big thing. Where I come from, or how I operate, is very much like, I'm very direct, I'm very like to the point, and I need to have people kind of like telling me what they want, not like, oh, like when a client sits down in the chair and they sit there and they go, how do you think your haircut? Is there anything we need to fix? And blah, 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 blah. They go like, no, everything's fine. I'm like, are you sure? And I could tell that they're like playing with their hair a little bit, and you're just kind of like, something up, and I want you to be direct with me. And so the one thing I've learned about here is like everything kind of is spoken sort of through what we call, I guess, bants, quote unquote.
I think it's old.
Yeah.
It's like
there's underlying.
That's very
so
British.
For me,
that is very
like with everything. Like they never like
exactly.
What would happen is if you're in a restaurant, got something you didn't like it, and the waiter came up and said, "You mean okay?"
Yeah.
You wouldn't ever say no.
It's fine. You'll sit there crying while you're eating, but you're like, yeah, no.
So tell me, from your point of view, does that, in the hair world, does that really sort of
It's difficult. It was difficult for me when I first got here, definitely. Like, I struggled because I didn't understand why people I didn't know were coming in the shop and taking the piss out of me. I was like, what did I do to you? Like, I didn't hurt. Did I ever make fun of your mom? No. Like, what? Do you know what I mean? And so there was this sort of like, I don't know if it's an aspect of my neurodivergency or if it's a product of me just not understanding the culture. But for me, it was just like, it was really hard to get my head around. I had my friends, I work with my friends. I had lots of conversations with them trying to figure out like how to operate in this sort of like chameleon world. Because you kind of have to put on this persona when you sit with people, because at the end of the day, you're providing a service. You got to like placate to what they like and what they want to talk about and things like that. So like for me, it was just like, I don't know, it was just really difficult to navigate at first. But once I got it, I was kind of like, oh, this is great. I love this. And coming back to what we were talking about earlier about the Queen and kind of like taking the piss out of stuff like that. But for me, it was just like, I was like I remember when I first started here, I was kind of like loosely talking about like what I thought about the Queen. And I was like, oh, maybe that's like one thing that's like off boundaries. We can't really talk about how we don't really like certain things about how things work in regards to something that's so sentimented in regards to your guys' British culture. Because like for me, it's like, I don't understand the concept of a queen. I mean, I know I'm a part of a Commonwealth country, but it was just hard for me to get. And then it's one of those things you have to kind of respect. And it's like off boundaries. Like we can't talk about that thing. We can't make jokes about that thing because it's like a respectable thing. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. So it's like navigating that world between trying to be able to talk about certain things and joke about certain things, but not joke about other things.
And what must be quite hard about that, I guess, is that, I mean, if I came, your shop, I'd be like, well, it's okay. Take the piss. I'm quite happy.
I think I'm not even
one person. So you tell me, like, what do you find that in your shop? What do you find? Is there a cultural divide, in that respects? It's a hard question. I don't think so. Well, what do you mean? Like, I feel what you may talk about in the salon, especially, I mean, with the culture aspect of things, is that more?
See, because I've got like quite like a diverse clientele.
Yeah.
But I think because most of my clients, they're like black.
Yeah.
What would talk about is mostly like, say if we're watching something on TV, but like we don't really speak about, like, say, what's going on in the country, because I feel like we're women as well. Like we know politics, but sometimes as women as well, like we're more into like fashion and But I think for me as a person, I can relate with whoever I'm speaking to, because I always just take time to like obviously observe my environment. So if clients come in, like it is easy to just like, flow and whatever they're talking about, I'm able to just jump on that.
So would you say traditionally you're going to be talking about more fashion and more things like that than?
I think it kind of depends, because if it's male clients, they will talk about football, we'll talk about politics, we'll talk about girls, we'll talk about race, we'll talk about a bunch of different things. Yeah. But I think I can speak for women and say that they are sometimes emotional, so we don't get into like deep subject.
Oh, right, okay.
Because if you're arguing back and forth, it can get...
And there's no point. You're there to do the hair, I guess.
Exactly. That's why I like my male clients, because we can get into it and we're like going back and forth. But I think it's refreshing with both of them, to be honest. But I don't think there's like a cultural clash or anything.
It's interesting. I'd like the difference between the whole culture aspect. I find is totally different as well. Do you know? I mean, the hair fascinates me. I've told you already,
I see, like, we've had clients where I think I've had clients that don't want to obviously, like, appropriate, like, the culture. Like, say if I've got a client that's got Caucasian hair, like, usually they'll message me, like, oh, hi, I want braids, but I don't want to, like, appropriate or, like, offend anyone. I'm like, it's not offensive. Like, if you're appreciating a culture, you can come in, get a style and appreciate it. But I think where sometimes there's, like, a divide, especially, like, say in my, like, type of industry, is say if someone comes in there rocking like cornrows and then they give it a different name and they're like, oh, I've got the Kim K braids, I've got the this braids. That's where there's then that divide, because I'm like, you're not respecting where the hairs actually come from. You're not respecting the culture behind it.
It's interesting. I mean, even on a personal view, I remember being heavily into Soul to Soul, which was like Jazzy B, I would say late 80s. Back to Life and everything. And I had my hair, I went to London to learn how to do extensions in this place called Antenna. It was a crazy place. And the receptionist was chained up. So
Wait,
what?
yeah, she
I'm
was chained.
thinking,
Wait,
is it the hairstyle?
Oh, yeah, it was. Brian Drum, he was the guy who owned it, right? And it went on, and you couldn't use, like, there was no real hair extensions then. You used fake hair all the time.
Physically chained up.
I was chained here, and
it was a hair salon.
And she
I don't know.
right, and she'd go like that. She'd go, right, I can't take your name, obviously, so just sit down. And that's how you greeted.
How much did she get paid for that crap? I hope she got like a break at times to like put the arms down.
Well, possibly. Well, this was the course that I paid to go, and they showed how to do extensions. And it was use the gun then to melt the hair into it, right? And you melt it, like you twist the hair, normal hair. So you need two people to do it. And it was all through plastic hair. It wasn't real hair then, right? And on the afternoon, they wanted somebody to do dreadlocks. So they wanted the model dropped out. So I put my hand up straight away because I wanted to be Jazzy B, you know? And I was 18-year-old, and I was like, I'll be the model. So I sat there. I went with my hair here, and I came back with hair there in dreadlocks, right? And I mean, my dad, who was a policeman, right, came to pick me up from the bus. And have you ever got the coach to London? It takes about 8 hours because it stops.
I've taken the coach from, I think, Glastonbury to London.
Yeah, I mean, it's
like 5 hours.
I looked as rammy as hell, and obviously came up with these dreadlocks as well. And when my dad made me sit in the back of the police car, right, because he picked me up, so I looked like I'd been nicked as well. You know what I mean?
Oh my goodness!
And I used to go to the Fridge in Brixton, right, this club, and
you said it to you like you knew what it was.
well, you know, you're saying like in the day of the culture now, it's like if you're gonna like get some dreads and you're gonna how would you, you know, like you said, you're not respecting it. Then I mean, I didn't even have any clue about disrespect or anything. I was doing it with respect. So I went to this club, and I mean, I was the only white guy in there. There was a few white girls, but all my mates who were black guys, they kind of looked after me, but I didn't even have a clue they were looking after me. I just loved the music and everything, and I was walking around, white guy, with dreads. I must have looked... I mean,
like James Franco from Spring Breakers, honestly.
Bad. When I look back to it, I think, and I used to wear them on top of my head, you know, like a pineapple on top of my head. I loved it. I got so much attention as well, which I love.
Do you think, like, I mean, I guess this is a good question because, like, I mean... I dealt with a lot of like a cultural appropriation in like Canada. It's like pretty big thing within regards to like Native American people and stuff like that. Like people over here don't really understand it. Like I've gone to places where people will like, I guess, wear quote unquote red face. You know what I mean? Here in this country, which is like interesting to me. That's the best way I'm going to put it because like I would see that is on the equivalent as doing blackface, I guess, in a way. Do you know what I mean? But it's like cultural appropriation in a sense, like wearing like a Native American headdress that's actually like associated with a very specific Native American tribe based in the plains of like Canada or the United States. When it comes to like dreadlocks and stuff like that, this is a conversation I've had a lot lately, is like, because like to me, I know that dreadlocks are often associated more so within the last, well, I guess 500 years, I guess, it's a long time, with African-American people or African people. But like, I also know through history that it was also associated heavily with the Greeks because then everybody had them because you couldn't take care of your hair.
That's right.
Poor people couldn't take care of their hair, so their hair would get matty and it would just, and that's just a product. I guess in a way now we've sort of, I guess, commodified it in a way to make it more fashionable to have that. Because I don't know, because I don't know how dreads work. I just know that I don't know. They smell nice. They're gonna
work better.
Do they don't ever smell nice.
Because if you think about it, your hair is matted, and if you wash it, there's nothing that gets through it. Because
you can't wash it.
It's like trying to.
Yeah, but don't they get mold? So they get moldy, don't they?
Yeah, it doesn't.
Does it always get moldy, or can you keep it clean?
No, you have to do an apple cider vinegar rinse. I always beg like my dreadheads. I'm like, if you've got dreads, anyone that's listening, if you've got dreads, please, just washing and shampoo and condition doesn't get.
Right. Tell me that again. The apple cider vinegar. I drink that in the morning.
No, because
I drink that in the morning.
No, because apple cider vinegar cleanses, right? Because
it does.
So if your hair is in a dread, it's like a knot.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna wash and shampoo and condition, it just traps inside that knot. But if you use apple cider vinegar and you use baking soda, it breaks down all that product and build up, and then it washes out. So usually I recommend if you've got dreads, like every 3-4 months, do you like an apple cider cleanse? Because like literally the acid breaks down all of the trapped in.
So tell me, right? Have you ever done dreads on Caucasian hair?
I've had like an Asian guy come in
dreads on an Asian guy.
This is where I got annoyed.
Oh my goodness.
Sensible.
Yeah, man.
Because Asian hair is so.
It's
We talk about
it's focus straight.
I remember the first time somebody ever told me, like, wait until you cut Asian hair. And I was like, what do you mean? It just is like every other hair.
thick.
But it's thick and it's like wiry and it's like.
And I'm just like, the whole concept, because I'm like, anyone can get dreads, anyone can get
Yeah.
whatever you want to do to your hair, you're free to do so.
Yeah.
But I always tell clients as well, like, let's be sensible.
But it's going to work, right?
It's a
Let's be realistic.
Yeah,
that's
let's
what
be
we.
realistic.
That's what we say in
Yeah.
our shop as well.
I remember telling you guys, I had like an Asian guy show me a picture of a black man, and he was like, I want my hair exactly like this black man. I'm like, you don't look exactly like this black man, so how is the two gonna work? Like, there's a big bridge in between.
Yeah.
And he was just like, yeah, but can you get it as close to that? I'm like, it's impossible.
It's just not going to
It's
close to it.
impossible.
No,
I'm like,
no,
I can
no.
do cornrows, but you can't get this specific style. And he was arguing. He was like, no, but I want it exactly like this. I'm like, but you don't look exactly like this, so it's never gonna work. But I had two white men like who I did dreads on.
Yeah.
And obviously, because Caucasian hair is a little bit more, I don't even want to say like fragile, but you can tell that the texture is different. Afro hair is very coarse.
Yeah.
So even with Afro hair, sometimes dreads can damage it because if you think about it, your hair's knotted.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of weight on the hair. So if you've got Caucasian hair and your hair's like turned into a dread, one dread is probably like, is more weight than like, say if you like section out a huge part of your hair.
Right.
So as the dread grows out, you've got your natural hair growing through.
Yeah.
That hair is probably like 3 times thinner than the dread.
Mhm.
So the dread's going to pull down the hair.
Yeah,
gonna
it's gonna
snap your hair off.
Yeah.
So I'll be telling them, I'm like, your hair's going to start to snap off. They don't listen. I'm like, it's fine.
And then when they start, their hairline starts receding.
Then
Then
they
they
come
come back
back
to
to-
you and they go, "Why did you do this?"
No, this is the problem. They'll come back to me. Can you fix it? I want to keep the dreads. I'm like, the dreads are going to snap your hair. Your hair's going to be finished.
Yeah. And you're gonna bald yourself out.
And I
So
feel like
would that actually distress from the scalp
you'll
totally
see
as
the
well?
fact
Yeah.
that they're like getting bald spots. I've had a client,
Yeah,
his
yeah.
hair's balding. He's got like bumps on his scalp. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you can physically see that this style in your hair do not go.
Mhm.
You can get another style that is more gentler on your hair, but there's certain, like you said, it has to be realistic.
Yeah.
Like there's certain styles that I know with my hair that I wouldn't do because it would damage my hair. But I'll go for an alternative. But then there's some clients that, because I think it is fashionable to have certain looks, but I'm like also take into consideration that Afro-Caribbean people, we get braids as a way to protect our hair, especially in this country because of the weather. If I was not protecting my hair, I'll be bald. I'll be walking around with no hair. So I'm like, there's certain styles that we do for a specific reason. It's not for fashion.
Yeah.
But because of like obviously mainstream media and everything that's going on, people now see it as, oh, you get your hair done every week. It's fashionable. It's not. Like it is fashionable. Like it's nice that people can appreciate it. But I'm like, there's a lot more to it. So then if you're now getting dreads just because it's cool, you're going against the actual purpose of what that style is meant for.
Yeah. That's interesting.
That's a good
really
point.
interesting. It's a massive point. Right. I've got to go back because about the Trump shooting. I've got to go
So
back.
you really want to know?
I'm learning a few bits and bobs and we talk.
Well, this is good though because, well, first of all, we need to mention also too, Nyasha's lost her voice, which is quite funny because we've just started our first pilot episode. I remember you posted in the group chat that you were like, or not in the group chat, you posted on on your Instagram reel that you're like, oh, I lost my voice, and I was like, oh no, are we gonna have to postpone? And I was like, then you showed up, and I was like, oh, sick, we're all good, we're good today. But yeah, the Trump shooting, I politically don't align at all with him, but in my opinion, I don't think anybody should be shot at in any capacity.
yeah.
I think it's I think it's horrible. I don't think it adds anything. It just adds to the level of heat that's going on politically, even around the world.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, I was born in America, grew up in Canada, now I live in the UK. I've lived in different political climates my entire life, mostly on the Western end, sort of like westernized cultures and stuff like that. So for me, it's just like when I see things like that, it's like we're not adding to the integrity of what it's like to have a conversation anymore. We've just gone straight to violence. And it's just, for me, I'm like, I don't care who he is. No one deserves to be shot at.
Yeah.
This is, free speech is free speech. And then there's hate speech. Obviously, that's a completely different, ballpark. But, for me, it's just like someone lost their life, like a firefighter. I can't remember his name, unfortunately. If I knew it, I'd say it. But a firefighter who protected his family was shot and killed in the whole thing. 2 people were critically wounded. I was at a festival all weekend, so I wasn't really on my phone a whole lot, except to film myself dancing and stuff like that. And I remember coming home after the first night and going on my phone at like 10 o'clock at night because we're an 8-hour time difference. Well, no, it was in Pennsylvania, I think. I think it's like 5-hour time difference. And I was like, holy shit, like, this is not good. And I had a similar reaction when the January 6th riot happened, when the storming of the Capitol happened. Because, like, to me, I've been to Washington, D.C. I know what that place is like. It's massive. And, like, to see that happen.
Like, do you know, instead of having a conversation, people are just going straight to violence.
Yeah.
But obviously, no one deserves to get shot at. No one deserves to get killed. But I feel like also with our generation, we're very much, like, active. And I think people have had enough of, you know, just constantly speaking and they feel like there's no change. I don't think we should resort straight to violence.
Yeah.
But I also feel like people maybe at this point feel like they have no choice.
They're tired of their shit.
Yeah, because everyone keeps speaking. Even look at UK politics, like we keep talking. Labour's now in power and we've just seen like a big movement where it's like, okay, younger people are now speaking up. But it's like if you've been speaking for years and years and years and years and years and there's no
frustrations.
It's like with Trump, he had how many charges against him? Whoever he's prayed to, I'm going to pray to him because that man is untouchable. And I think people get to a point where I'm like, you should never resort to violence. But it's also a thing is we can't have a conversation because who's listening?
This is where I believe the whole political system around the world, including Canada,
broken.
It's broken. And this is a frustration that spills out in people.
It's hard to have these conversations, especially in the shop. Like I know, like politics in our shop is very like, it's not taboo, but it's obviously, it's controlled. And it's controlled by the individual that's cutting the hair. And if it goes outside of the space that you're in within the chair, goes further across the shop, you have to kind of
be careful.
You got to be careful, everybody, because nobody knows where everybody comes from. Everybody are strangers.
Be sensitive as well. Like you should be.
That's true.
Absolutely.
And it's like my opinion shouldn't change your life. Like I can voice what I think and how I feel. Like say it's
like getting angry if I watch a show that you didn't like.
Yeah, it's like we don't agree. Like say you. I think especially with salons, it's a safe space where you should be able to speak for God.
In our salon, it's. They completely, me and Michael are very political, but we can't help it. It always turns around to politics, you know?
I spent quite a bit of time in university and I got used to having these kind of conversations like this where we all come from different backgrounds. We may not all agree, but relatively speaking, we all agree on the same values. We all have the same values. It's just how we get there. That's the point. How we get there is where we disagree. But at the end of the day, we all agree that everybody should have food on their table, shelter over their head. You know what I mean?
If that was all sorted out, then surely we wouldn't be going to talk. We're going to talk about King Charles obviously opening Parliament and all that kind of thing, right? Talk about his hair. We're on about his hair. We're on about Trump, and how can we not mention hair when we're talking about Trump?
Yeah,
come on. I mean, it's a little bit more fixed now.
Is it a wig? Like, is it actually?
It's a comb over.
I don't even think it was a wig.
I've looked at it a couple of times from different angles, and I know that there's not much going on up front.
Yeah.
It's a comb over from, I think, the left-hand side over forward and over and back.
Do you know what I think he did?
I think he looks so much more badass.
But looking at it, I feel like it's hair plugs, like an old transplant.
Really?
And I think it's been done loads of times. A bit like
you've been in the game longer, so I wouldn't know.
So when you look at it, it doesn't look like.
Yeah. It looks better now.
I think he would win the election if he shaved his head. Just think about it.
No, honestly, do you know?
I honestly think it would
take him seriously because of his hair.
Yeah,
hair makes a big.
If you remove the stigma of what everybody's poking fun at, then what are they going to make fun of?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if you're someone that's in power, like even when Boris Johnson was in power, no one.
It would just make him look like a badass.
Isn't it crazy that we talk about some? This shows how important hair is.
Yeah,
we're actually talking about that. Yeah.
Like,
it's interesting.
Say I walked in bald, you guys would look at me.
I think you look at bald, I'd be like, all right.
You look it.
That's your character.
Yeah.
Have a certain look. That's how people will remember you.
Yeah.
The way you look. These men, people don't even talk about their politics.
How bad is their hair? So I'm going to talk about like Boris Johnson's hair and Trump's hair. We talk about King Charles. I mean,
I had to search it.
I didn't know what's going on with King Charles' hair. Can you show me a picture?
Kind of wavy,
show us the picture.
And I was like, what is this man's hair look?
I didn't know about this.
Pictures that he has on Google. Some of them, I don't know which one is his current hair.
I mean, it looks...
Well, no, he's current hair right now. Interesting enough.
Just an old British man's haircut.
Yeah, and it looks, well, it's fuller than that picture you're showing there as well. Like, I'm going to talk about this, right? Because I've just come back from holiday and I got a chance to have a bit of a tan. No, I love having a tan. And I've got an 8-year-old, right? So I was on holiday with him, so I didn't get as much of a tan as I like, right? Now, King Charles and the Queen, Camilla.
I thought you were talking about
Queen Camilla.
Oh, what's the Queen
Yeah,
consort?
now.
Right,
yeah,
right.
No, she's not a consort. She's the Queen now.
What?
Yeah,
Wait,
yeah,
that happened.
Yeah.
You know when they
What
changed
are
that?
you doing?
Because when the Queen was alive, they said she'll never be Queen.
Yeah.
If I'm King, she'll never be Queen.
Yeah.
As soon as she died, they were like, oh, nah, let's.
So they didn't even make her Queen consort. They were just like,
No, make her proper Queen. So she's Queen.
that's a bit.
Now, where I was getting back to, them two look like they've been on console all day. They are so brown, both of them. I saw it in the press yesterday. And I looked at them, I was like, judging tans. I was like,
Is he hitting the tanning bed? you
yeah,
think?
I reckon, put it this way, the weather we've been having here,
They're probably experiencing.
yeah, they're probably been somewhere else. Right, we've got to talk about styles. So let's talk about mullets. I'm going to go over to you first.
Right.
With it.
So I love mullets. I have a mullet myself. I haven't had my hair cut in a couple weeks, so excuse me. That's why I'm wearing a hat today. But no, I get mullets like on a daily occurrence. Like people come to me all the time. My boss, one of my best friends, he always told me when I first started, when he was teaching me everything, when I was promoting myself, when I first started in the shop, he was like, always push what you want to do most on your Instagram. And so I was like, you know what? I really want to learn how to do mullets. So I remember when I was learning how to like properly cut hair as opposed to like where I started in my apprenticeship, where I am now. I remember I was like, I really want to learn how to do this. So I just kept on asking my friends. I was like, do you want a mullet? Let's do a mullet. So all my clients a lot of them are just mullets. And there's different variations of mullets. There's like the taper, which is like a skin taper with like a curl and it just sits right behind your ear, kind of like that there. So it just goes up and then back and it just leaves it. Or there's like a sort of like what they call like a burst fade or something like that, which is very confusing because people don't actually know what a burst fade is. I still don't know what a burst fade is.
Pleasing,
Yeah, usually, well, no, to be honest, I don't know what it is, Marcus, because I go in the shop and people sit down. Some people sit down and they want, I want a burst fade. I'm like, right, I'm going to show you two different hairstyles. You tell me which one you think is a burst fade. And it's usually like a V cut. Do you want like so V cut is like basically it's like a mohawk, but it's like a skin fade, but you don't touch the back. Right. And then it shapes into the back into a V. And then it's like, I don't know if I'm describing this properly. I can show you a video. It's like a skin fade all the way around, but it stops at about right above your ear there, and then it drops back and it tapers the back of your hair into a V.
You know what? There used to be a cut called the slug.
Really?
And that's
what it was called.
Very similar. Yeah, that's.
Well, no, here's another one though.
It looks like a slug.
We've got another one that's exactly the same, except instead of a V, it just goes straight back. So that's kind of a more modern mullet, which goes again like a skin fade and then drops back behind the ear instead of stopping behind the ear where the classic mullet usually is. It goes all the way back behind the ear and it comes down and it's almost like a block section of the back of your hair. So that looks almost like more like a slug, I would say. But
yeah, I mean, you know what? I personally did it was a couple of weeks back now. I really did this like classic proper 80s mullet on this guy. It looked amazing. Now one time, like say 5 years ago, that would have looked horrendous, right? But it looked so cool because he looked so cool as well. What about you? Tell me, would you do anything like that or?
See, when you guys are saying mullets, I'm wanting to search up on my phone and see what it looks like, because with like afro hair, because I've worked in a barbershop before.
Yeah.
I've just heard of like taper and skin fade. That's about it. So I'm trying to figure out, like, your hair's a mullet, right?
It's like premature mullet. Like I remember about a year ago, I had a mullet that went down on my like almost down.
No,
my
wait,
shoulders.
what is a mullet? That's what I'm trying to.
So it's business on the front, party in the back.
Part at the back. So long at the back and really short at the sides.
Back in the 80s, though, the mullets didn't have like the skin, obviously.
No.
They were just like a 2 or a 3 or even just a scissor cut.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah. Mostly scissor cut, which are popular as well. Like
you know what I mean now. Yeah, people cut their own hair. They could only cut the top.
Yeah. And they couldn't cut the back,
and that's what it was.
Really, that's cool.
Literally where it's from.
Girls have gotten it like from like in my industry. I think because like Love Island girls, like one of the influencers, she was getting it. So like a lot of girls, I think it was like last year.
Like a mullet.
Yeah, this one.
Oh right.
So that's what all the girls will get done.
Yeah.
But I've never like come across like guy.
But you see how you could sort of like make a bullet longer, shorter, and then put the full fringe in, like you just showed me there as well. So I mean, that wouldn't be
Yeah, no, I love doing mullets. I do them all the time, and if anybody out there is listening and wants a mullet, come see me because I love doing them.
You tell me you talk about fashion all the time. We are clients, so tell me, what do you feel like is coming through hair wise, but also clothes wise?
Obviously, with the weather, like you can't exactly dress up. Gym wear, a lot of the girls that obviously come to me, it's more like gym wear. Like gym wear gives like soccer mom fit, gym fit.
Even if you never go to the gym.
I wasn't going to the gym. I was just wearing gym because it's comfortable. And a lot of girls, I started noticing like it's more just chill lounge wear, especially in the UK. So yeah, a lot of girls are just more like lounge wear. Hair wise, I think a lot of girls get their inspiration from like America. Like American, like Instagram models, TikTok girls and stuff like that. It's not really... I think there was a trend last year, but it was like for braids. It was like the Alicia Key braids that everyone was doing, and that was for like maybe like 6 months or so. And then
for clothes, I would say there's a heavy kind of African-y vibe going on as well, especially and baggy things, very loose things.
Oh yeah, a lot of...
Is that African or just skaters and 90s?
Well, no. The 90s.
I would say it's more 90s.
I'm talking about more prints and things.
Oh,
well. So this is coming on.
A lot of men I've noticed now, like gone are the days of skinny jeans, like men are wearing like skinny jeans.
I wore skinny jeans like a couple weeks ago, and I got the piss taken out of me.
Even me as a girl, I don't like wearing it. It feels odd now. Cause
feels weird now, doesn't it?
Everyone's got like the flared jeans or the oversized jeans, oversized hoodies.
I always like wearing my skinny jeans though with my boots because they showed off my legs better. I've got nice legs, so I'm going to brag. I mean, they're in baggy pants right now, but I don't know.
Well,
I think
you can take your pants off.
Oh, right. Well, forgot it's video recorded as well. I don't know. For me, it's like I noticed that like I'm a bigger guy. I'm shortly
after show.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk about it later. Yeah. I'm a bigger guy. I'm short and stubby. I've always been that way, and so growing up, I can never find like pants that fit me. I would always have to wear baggy pants because my waist size was always bigger, and so I'd always have to roll up my pants. And that was never cool. It was never cool. And then we got skinny jeans, and I was like, I look weird in these, but also like if I wear a pair of like nice, like, because where I come from in Canada, it's like raining all the time, but everybody's hiking all the time. So we're always wearing like boots that we can go to work in, and it's fashionable, but also wearing skinny jeans so we can show off the boots because the boots are expensive. And so now we've got this point now where we're going back to like the 90s again because we've hit another generation that that are behind me that are like never lived through the 90s or like grew up into the 90s into the early 2000s that hit that sort of like skater phase where pants were baggy and shit. And for me, I love that because I can live my best life and go, great, I can go back to being comfortable again and like wearing like a longer, thicker pant and that are like, it's chill, and I can wear like kind of like a baggier shirt and go back to like my childhood, which is kind of cool. And it's not seen as like, oh, he's the old guy. Do you know what I mean? I just live my best life, and it's great. I love it.
I think it's so crazy the kind of influence that society and trends actually have on people. Because imagine, we can't feel comfortable until like a group of people now come and say, oh yeah, these kind of jeans.
It shows how tribal.
Where do you come from?
Yeah.
I think it's just the mentality. I think even like psychologically, like we always have a herd mentality. There'll be like one or two people that but you're always going to follow the crowd because you don't want to...
You think of the word influencer. So it gets banged and banged and banged and banged.
Even with hair, like I could post, never use this product, and a bunch of people just won't use it. If one person has said so, everyone's so quick to just take it on board, and it's like, I might not know.
Did you say you're an influencer?
Do you know what?
You're looking at me like...
I ran away from that word because I was like, no, but then I started realizing it's not a bad thing being an influencer.
It can actually be positively.
Yeah. So if you have like, you can be an influencer even if one person listens to you because you've influenced someone. So I think in a way we're all influencers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll go with that.
We're all influencers.
I mean, I don't like, we're all influencers, yes, obviously, because especially with our clients, because we'll say like, hey, I think this hairstyle would look good on you. Because that's what creates the relationship between the two people. Like we were talking about earlier, this essence of having values that are all the same. It's just the difference about how we get there is where we disagree.
I would see the difference between influencing somebody from that perspective, right, to selling. The selling bit of the influence, I mean, I think you've got to sort of take charge in your own head. When somebody's selling something from you, hey guys,
they're not doing your best interest.
No, they're not. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all about the money side of things, who do you think that's hot right now?
Like hot, like sexy, or do you mean like
No, I'm not everything.
Oh, right.
It doesn't even mean influence. I mean, who do you think? Who do you think?
For me, like I watched what did I watch that movie recently called Bike Riders with Tom Hardy and Austin Butler.
He's one.
And the one thing I really liked was like Austin Butler, objectively, is a sexy dude.
Yeah,
Like, he's a good
do
looking
you
guy.
know who Tom Hardy is as well?
Not really. I think he's a bit.
You see, if I was gay, I would definitely go with Tom Hardy. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really like him as an actor. Me personally, I know that's gonna. Yeah,
no.
well, I mean, that's a deeper conversation.
Wow.
I'm like in regards to fashion, like we were talking about. Like I think Austin Butler does great for the fashion world and like for the hair world as well, because like what his hairstyle in that film is like a lot of the hairstyles, like grimy sort of like mullety sort of street look hairstyles. Like that's what I think is cool. Same thing with like these old school hairstyles. Those are hairstyles that I grew up liking. I was interested in hair as a young kid. I think we were talking about this the last time I saw you guys, was when I remember sitting with my brother, and I remember we were all just like hanging out, and I was like probably like 4 years old, and I loved the movie Grease. And I was just like one of my favorite movies, and I wanted my hair to look like Danny Zuko's. So like John Travolta's from that movie, because he had that like sort of greasy, like, I don't know, it was a pompadour? What would you call that? It's like a hot rod head?
Yeah, I still call it a pompadour.
Yeah, I mean, it would be called a pompadour, but it's like, it's not though, because there's still
like
business.
Because it was, you know,
there's
like
still business in the back. And it's kind of like in that movie, it was really cool because I was like, I think a lot of people will watch that and be like, I want to look like him. Or like same with Timothy Chalamet. Like he is also like a big fashion guy. And I've had guys come into the shop and they're like, I want my hair to look like his. And I'm like, your hair is not long enough, dude.
They're clearly doing that Asian black guy thing you're on about.
Yeah, sometimes people just the look at it.
Just be realistic.
Yeah.
And that's okay to have that conversation because I think like it's hard to have that conversation with some people because they come in and they expect you to work your magic. And then they sit down in the chair and you go, hey, like, let's talk about this.
Like you need the platform to create magic. If you're creating something, you need something to work.
It's like an artist not having all the colors that he needs to create a painting.
He doesn't even have the boards.
Or you can make a colour, but if you had the colour, then you can add to that colour to make it. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
It's good canvas. So this is a massive passion of mine. I'll tell you a little bit about what I tend to do in the salon on the morning.
Go on then.
Right? So on the morning, I tend to put healing songs on. Yeah, I love all that kind of like chilled vibe. I like to go in very early before anybody else comes in.
What time do you get there?
So I get there 45 minutes at least before. And I only live about 10 minutes away from where I work. And I love putting that on. And then young girl comes in and she destroys that within seconds, undo all the piece. And so I'm there and I usually get a herb stick and I'm wafting it all around. Getting everything all cleansed and everything. I like to cleanse place. And then I'll go on, like, so we'll have like a bit of Pearl Jam in there, a bit of Afro beats, and then might have even while like the Idles and Fontaine's DC.
All right, we're going to talk about that.
Boys, you know. And then
You call them Idles?
Idles? Yeah.
Idols.
Idols. There's lots of different. They're
called
idols before.
They're called idols.
And then somebody was saying, somebody said, no, it's idols.
No, they're wrong. It's idols. They call themselves
Did
idols.
You see their set in
Glastonbury? Yeah, hell yeah. I've been to one of their sets at Glastonbury as well. It's all about peace and love and like hating fascists.
I'm really angry. You know, they'll do a concert. The lead singer, what do you call
his name's Joe Talbot.
Yeah. I mean, he'll spend the whole concert staring at the camera like this.
Oh, he's so angry.
Peace and love.
Yeah.
Like, and his hair.
Oh, now it's like pink. Yeah, it's pink now. Pink,
but he's balding.
Yeah. But he makes it look good, though.
It look good. Yeah. He's got a kind of mullet going on.
So punk is like my go-to. Yeah, I love punk rock music. Like I grew up with, well, I guess it was like kind of lighter punk. It was like Blink-182 kind of punk. Like right now I'm listening to, it's an Australian band called Amelie and the Sniffers, and they're like,
yeah, they're brilliant.
Yeah, they're great. Fabulous. They're great. And it's like, I think her name is Amelie or Amelie.
Emily?
I think that's her name, and the Sniffers are everybody else. But they're just like the I think the drummer has like a mullet and she's got a wolf cut.
Yeah.
And it's just, they look so cool. And they're so angry, but they sing about like, just wanted to live their lives and like how everybody's just like getting on. Yeah.
I suppose that's what punk
That's what punky is. Yeah.
See, I've got like a broad like music playlist, but I do what you do. So every day I always put gospel music to start off the day.
Oh,
And I started noticing like a lot of my clients really, really enjoy it. Even when they don't believe in God, they'll be like, this is so soothing,
Yeah.
calming. And I think it's a little bit different from like, do you know, some salons that you go to and straight off the bat, like they're playing like jazzy music. But I think to start off the morning, it is nice to have that presence and that like just that good vibe. So yeah, I usually start for like maybe like 2 hours of gospel playing. And then I've started enjoying French music because my best friend, she's Congolese.
Yeah.
So she's been putting me on to French music. I have not a clue what they're saying, but it sounds...
This is nice bad music, isn't it?
sounds so good. And I think most of the music we listen to, though, it's like we like just uplifting music.
Yeah.
So then we'll go to like maybe Afro beats or Amapiano because I'm Southern African. So yeah, we love Amapiano. Anything with a good beat, to be honest.
So some French rap is amazing, by the way.
Some of the stuff that I've discovered lately,
It's fantastic.
I'm in awe. I'm gonna come back speaking French. I'm done with all these songs. I'm gonna be speaking.
I was gonna say in the mornings I listen to on my way to work Hot Gossip podcast because I want to know what's going on in the world, but I like also need that like fill of like drama. Do you know what I mean? Like I secretly love like gossip shows and stuff. I don't have the time to watch them anymore. Like Love Island, I don't have the time to watch that anymore. But I love finding out about the drama and stuff like that.
I didn't even know about this. You know what's filmed about the girl in the prison?
Oh, and I didn't even know what happened, but you were like, you knew all about this woman like sleeping with or having sex with like an inmate, and I was like, what the hell?
But you know that's not the first time it's happened.
No, it's never.
happened
No,
before.
absolutely not.
But I think because of TikTok, because that's why I saw it on TikTok, it was just all over my For You.
It was full nudity and everything.
Not the
right.
obviously the
sex act.
Yeah, it was just like the story of it. Then I went and researched it, and it was basically this woman that she was having a relationship, and I think one of the inmates is the guy that like recorded it while it was happening.
Right.
And then that's
because we all know it's been going on, obviously.
I mean, it always goes on.
It always goes on, but it actually be filmed is
and then to be posted
crazy, and then to be posted. That's wild.
Obviously, you guys don't watch Love Island, but I think everyone that's probably going to be listening to this has been watching Love Island.
Oh yeah, I've watched Love Island like lots of times.
I think for girls especially, there's one of the girls on there. She's a gorgeous girl. She's been chasing this guy around for weeks, and obviously he didn't want her. He moved on with somebody else, and then last night she did the most embarrassing thing that even I've got secondhand embarrassment just thinking about it. So obviously the guy, he's got a new girlfriend, or a new girl in the villa, and she wants to know like if he still likes her because he's been dropping hints ever since she got like a new man. Like the public managed to get her to get like a really, really good looking guy. He's now coming, paying her attention. Her old guy's obviously gotten a little bit jealous, and he's dropping hints that he likes her. So then last night she's like, okay, I'm gonna pull him for a chat up on the terrace.
I love it when they say I'm pulling him for.
Yeah, it's like let's go for a chat.
Is that what people say?
Not in real life. Not in real life.
For a chat.
Yeah.
But I think because she pulled him up to the terrace, and everyone goes to the terrace to kiss.
Ooh.
She was like, oh yeah, she told one of the islanders, Joey Essex, she's like, can you go tell the guy to come for a chat so we can rekindle, blah, blah, blah. Joey went to go get the guy. The guy was like, no.
Jeez,
and she's crawling on the terrace waiting for this guy because she doesn't want the other islanders to see her. So she's just crawling, waiting for him, and she sat down. The guy flat out rejected her and said no.
Oh, wow.
So right now, I think for girls, though, that's what we've all been talking about. Where I'm like, as girls, we've obviously been in a situation where you might want to pursue something with a guy and you don't want to get turned down. That, in all of history, I think is the worst pie that a girl has ever gotten. To be caught on her knees and a guy, he was like, no, I'm not going
on national telly as well.
Television.
I mean,
live national television.
All right.
What story a client told me the other day. And so basically, it was a birthday, big birthday, right? And she got all done up for it. Right? I did her hair. She got her makeup done by another lady that I work with sometimes as well. She got all like mega done. She looks gorgeous. She pays a lot of attention to herself. Anyway, she thought obviously she'd be getting taken out and things. And when she got back, there was nobody there. Right? So she was like,
got it.
She was talking to me about this, and she said to me, I was so disappointed. Nobody was taking me out. My husband wasn't there. The kids weren't there. Nobody was in the house. And she said, I thought, fuck it, you know? And she poured herself a big glass of wine. She took her clothes off. She didn't have bra or knickers. And she sat down in a chair with this big glass of wine, right? And she looked like this. I can't believe it. You know? Unbeknown to her, in the other room, all the family were there. They all went, surprise! She was sat there in knickers and a bra.
Yeah.
No.
With a big glass of wine.
Oh my God.
Oh, the whole family and the kids, everybody sat there, yeah.
Oh.
I mean, I said, did you have your best pants on? You went, yes.
Yeah.
So that was good.
Yeah. You got to wear your best birthday pants. I'll be honest.
Yeah. So what for you has been your highlight of the week?
Positive thing that happened in my week. I think I'm just stoked that every single week I get to come in to my job. I mean, it's hard to even call it a job, and like people show up and they like respect me enough, one, to show up, two, to book an appointment. First of all, they're booking an appointment means they give a shit about the work that I do. And then they're sitting in the chair and they give me 45 minutes of their time. I don't ever think about it like, I never think about it in the sense that like they're doing me a service for being there. I'm like, I think like it's so cool that this person wants to give me their time today, 45 minutes, an hour, or whatever they want to give me. It's insane that people pay me to do that. And that for me, every single week is always going to be the same. It's not going to be, I mean, when we talk about this week to week, I mean, this is our first episode, but for me, that's, I think to start off the first episode, that's a good, I think. And I had a great conversation with my wife last night. So that was awesome.
So I started teaching. Well, I've been teaching like people how to do.
I saw that. Yeah. That was really cool.
That was the thing. When Joe, how you like, it actually makes you feel amazing to know that people want to spend the money that they've earned.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of young girls as well who are like 15, 17. And I'm like, they're saving up money to actually come and learn from me. And it's like very humbling. So I'm like, I'm in a position where I can like obviously pass on the knowledge that I've got. And they're like very willing to learn. They're just sat there and they're like, I want to know how to do braids. And especially in an industry that for so long was like very, very small and not a lot of people appreciated it. It feels incredible to be part of it and to be able to actually have people excited to learn how to do braids, how to work with hair and like Afro-Caribbean hair and stuff like that. So I feel like I'm slowly making an impact within this industry and it feels incredible.
Oh, that's brilliant.
I don't know. It's so cool.
No, I think it is.
Yeah.
You know, we love hair.
Yeah.
I think that's the best thing. And it touches on so much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is fabulous. It touches your heart.
Yeah.
And it changes every, like we talked about as well. So it's fab, you know?
What do I always say to people this is maybe a bit vulgar, but just kind of like, I guess, wrapping up here. But I always say that my job, because I got a lot of men in the shop, right? And they come and they sit in my chair. I always say to them, my job is to get you laid. That's my job.
It was like, I get to make you look pretty.
Yeah.
That's my job.
And they just go.
Don't get laid though.
I mean, if
they want to. If they want to. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Great.
That was It's the Cut. Please like, subscribe and share our podcast. Each week we will be bringing you the view from the chair from
me, Nyasha Mwenye.
Me, Brendan McGee.
And me, Marcus King.
It's the Cut was brought to you by
The King and I Salon in Norton, Stockton-on-Tees. You can find us on Instagram at The King and I Norton Limited.
By the Canadian Clipper Kid at Bones Club Barbershop in Newcastle upon Tyne. You can find me on Instagram at the Canadian Clipper Kid. My link is in the bio, or you can find us at our website, bonesclub.co.uk.
And by Ace Braids, also located in Newcastle. You can find us on Instagram at ace_braids, or you can find us online at aceofbraids.co.uk.
Niltoni Broadcast Network, NBN. Popcorn for your ears.